So, good morning, everyone. This is Reuel M. Bennett. I'm from the Department of Biological Sciences at the College of Science. I welcome you all to the second day of our MEOWS for the Modified Enhanced Online Week of Science 2020. So, today we'll be having, of course, our webinar being sponsored now by the Department of Biological Sciences, or DBS. Yes. For the flow of the program, of course, we'll be starting with an opening prayer, introducing myself, of course. Then we'll be having, third one will be webinar guidelines. Then we'll be introducing our speaker for today, the actual webinar lecture, an open forum, acknowledgement, and of course, the succeeding events for meows and closing prayer. Again, this webinar is sponsored by the Department of Biological Sciences of the College of Science. With that, let us first, or I invite everyone first to pray. And this one is going to be the prayer of St. Thomas before study. So in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, Amen. Creator of all things, true source of light and wisdom, origin of all being, graciously let a ray of your light penetrate the darkness of our understanding. Take from us the double darkness in which we have been born, from the obscurity of sin and ignorance. Give us a keen understanding, a retentive memory, and the ability to grasp things correctly and fundamentally. Grant us the talent of being exact in our explanations and the ability to express ourselves with thoroughness and charm. Point out the beginning, direct the progress, and help in the completion. We ask this through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, yeah. So before we begin, I'd like first to acknowledge the presence of our Dean, Professor Dr. Ray Don Estrapa, our department chair, Assistant Professor Richard Thomas Pavia, the faculty members of the College of Science, of course, our guests, the viewers, and Dr. Mylene G. Cayetano. Before that, I am now giving the floor to Assistant Professor Richard Thomas B. Pavia, our department chair, for some opening remarks. Dr. Pavia.
Yes, good morning, everyone. One of the most important things that we've realized during this pandemic is, aside from knowing that there's a virus going on, aside from knowing that there's a disease going around the community, at the background, we're noticing that, and we began to notice how how society impacts the environment. If you realize, the second most trending news in the Philippines after the declaration of ECQ was that Manila Bay became bluer, the skies became clearer, the smog lifted. People would take pictures from the top of buildings and say, I can see the mountain range in the background. People started realizing that we do have a large effect, mostly negative, on the environment. But at the same time that we realized how negative our effect was on the environment, we realized that by staying home, we realized by not using our cars, things are not as hopeless as it may seem. 1 week of not using cars, 1 week of not going out, 1 week of not going to work, 1 week of not opening factories led to such an increased improvement in our environment, immediate environment. It gives us hope that if we do more, we can really push environmental recovery. However, we have to look at the downside also. By staying indoors, we have opened up or started a delivery culture wherein almost all our food is being delivered to our homes. Styrofoam, plastic bags, waxed paper, all this trash is starting to build up. People were locked in their houses for months, and all they could do was wash their clothes, wash their bed sheets. They started clearing their things, throwing out stuff. And now we're hearing reports of an increase in the amount of personal protective equipment washing up on rivers and on beaches and clogging up waterways. So we're realizing now that by staying home, we're also contributing to the degradation of the environment. Whether we look at it from a positive or a negative perspective, what's important is that now we are aware of how big an impact we have on the environment. And we know how we can also improve the condition of the environment, not just in the long term, but short term as well. And I'm very happy that we have our guest speaker this morning to give us some stories, some backgrounds on how man impacts the environment, how we assess things, and gives us a better perspective of how we can affect the environment and for the bad, for the negative, and how we can also work to improve things so that when we emerge from this pandemic, we have a better understanding of the ecological processes linking man with the environment. And hopefully, we leave the pandemic knowing that we can work for change. And the new normal will not just include living with the virus, but knowing that we can work for the improvement of the environment. So I hope everyone will enjoy, I know everyone will enjoy the talk this morning. Thank you. Good morning to everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pavia, for your opening remarks. Before we proceed to the actual discussion or presentation of or introduction to Dr. Cayetano, let me first remind everyone of the following webinar guidelines. First is, of course, for our viewers, turn off your microphone before or during or the entire webinar, for the entire webinar. Second is, if you have questions, of course, or during the question and answer portion, would be, or if you want to raise question, would be best to type in your question here in the chat box for those who are in Blackboard Collaborate. And for number 5, you can see here for those or for our friends watching through Facebook, again, type your question in the comment section, then I'll be the one to read it for you. So I think that will be the best approach for today's webinar. Okay, so just to remind everyone again, just turn off your microphone so that there will be no feedback that will happen during the presentation. Okay, so let me introduce now our speaker. So our guest speaker for today is Dr. Mylene G. Cayetano. Dr. Cayetano is a graduate of B.S. Chemistry and M.S. Environmental Science from the University of the Philippines in Diliman. She finished her Ph.D. in Environmental Science and Engineering from Gwangju Institute of Science and Technology in South Korea. Present, Dr. Cayetano is a professor at the Institute of Environmental Science and Meteorology, University of the Philippines, Diliman. She is the group leader of the Environmental Pollution Studies Lab. Some of her research interests include air, water, and soil contaminants and transport, environmental toxicology, green chemistry, air and water quality management, and aquatic ecosystems rehabilitation. And a small trivia, Dr. Cayetano is one of the PhD advisors of Miss Sonia Javier. So Dr. Cayetano is a well-published researcher, and today she'll be sharing her research to us through this DBS webinar. Her presentation is entitled Living on the Impacts of Environmental Pollution in the Philippines, Issues, Challenges, and Managing What We Know. Dr. Cayetano.
Hello, Professor.
Okay. Yes, is it clear now? So the floor is now yours.
Okay. Introduction. Perfect. Very nice introduction. And would like to congratulate the whole team of USC Modified Enhanced Online Week of Science, MEOWS. It's also have PUSA. So what else? Be there, tiger, what? But I'm so interested in the creativity. Very great. So congratulations on the arrangements. Thank you for inviting me. Green Ray. Natuloy din. This is supposedly the character. And it's an honor to be here presenting in front of the UST College of Science community, and all the best activities of UST College of Science MEOWS. Okay, I'm here to present about some of our experiences on living on the impact of environmental pollution in the Philippines. So some issues, challenges, and how to manage that, based on experience of my small laboratory in by now there's the file, isn't it? So later I will share additional information through the internet. It will be useful in this webinar. Okay, so I'm already properly introduced. For more than 15 years, I've been in the environment sector. Add to that, as I returned from my PhD as a balik under the Department of Science and Technology, and I'm currently a professor of PhD. Okay, this talk is divided into 4 sections. The first section is I will introduce the interaction between human and nature, and introduce the term anthrosphere. If this is something that's not familiar with everybody, I'd like to add to your understanding and additional information on this term. And then we'll introduce some issues on the anthrosphere or the Anthropocene that we're entering into. Some challenges on why urban environments need attention, emissions and air pollution as we experience it here in the Philippines, and how are we living impacts of air pollution. There are other impacts that are worthy of tackling as well. As mentioned by Professor Pavia in his opening remarks, there are water pollution, solid waste pollution, but for this webinar, I'd like to focus on air pollution. And then some of the suggestions on how to manage what we know already from evidence and from science. All right, to proceed. So the interaction between human and nature is well presented in this figure from a book, Environmental Chemistry by Nahan. So everything on Earth can be placed to 1 or 4 major subsystems. The land, the water, living things, and air. And 4 subsystems are called spheres. I'm sure you're familiar with it. We have the biosphere, the hydrosphere, the geosphere, and the atmosphere. These spheres are closely connected. Okay, so to point it out, this is the hydrosphere, geosphere, the biosphere, and the atmosphere. Are you seeing my cursor? Sorry, atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, or geosphere, and the biosphere. These are all interconnected closely, with the biosphere in the middle. For example, vapor from the air condenses and precipitates into rain, deposits on the ground, even on surface water, and moves to the surface. And moves to the surface water, even underground. The water is transferred underground or even on the surface. With this, nutrients are also transferred and resources of the terrestrial and aquatic communities. And then once they are utilized by the organisms, the waste from the organisms will be released into the surface, in the water, in the soil, and eventually will also be eroded will go again to the hydrosphere, to the water systems and subsystems, and then eventually volatilize. Some are misted, and these mists and volatile nutrients can then serve as the cloud condensation nuclei for the formation of rain. And again, the process goes on and on. So the interconnectedness continues. The human, being on the topmost level of the organism hierarchy, influences this cycle very much in an unprecedented manner. And this influence is can be explained by the term anthrosphere. So what is anthrosphere? This is so we have biosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere or geosphere, and atmosphere. So this is the other sphere where the humans are now involved. So this is that part of the made or modified by humans and used for their activities. So example, these structures modified, natural structures modified by humans are structures used for technology, for education, for example, structures used for manufacturing, commerce, education, and other activities. Utilities including water, fuel, electricity distribution, systems and waste distribution, such as sewers, for transportation, including roads, railroads, airports, and waterways constructed or modified for water transport. Other structures for agriculture, for communication, for food production, machines of various kinds, devices for communication, so on and so forth. The list doesn't go out. So this is us. This is where we're living now. We are in the anthrosphere. All right. So with this, how did we impact the environment with our unprecedented presence in the nature? So this can be explained graphically through the growth of population, human population through the years. And if we interface it with the detonator of the population explosion, which is the Haber-Bosch synthesis method, then we can see somewhat congruent trend in increase. I would like to know if there are people here who are aware of the Haber-Bosch synthesis method. If I may share my screen now, my video, by the way. So Haber-Bosch process is, they call it the detonator of human explosion, but it actually is an industrial mechanism in the production of ammonia, so that ammonia can be produced, so that ammonia can be used in the production of nitrates and nitrites. And we know that nitrates and nitrites are used for fertilizers and even for explosives in some negative ways. And I know you're familiar with nitrification and denitrification, which is the process of converting ammonia into nitrates and nitrites, but this is using nitrogen fixation bacteria. And we need immense amount of energy to produce nitrates and nitrites from nature. So we need lightning, isn't it? But in the industrial process of Haber-Bosch, we only need the air, and the atmosphere is filled with nitrogen. And then if we combine it with amounts of hydrogen, or produce to high pressure and high temperature, and with a metal catalyst, we can then produce industrially ammonia. So balancing the equation, can you see it here? Okay, so This industrial process produces ammonia quickly compared to the production of ammonia through natural process of nitrification and denitrification. Now, going back to the slide, when the Haber-Bosch synthesis method was industrialized, I mean, in an industrial scale, food more adding more food are readily in our lifetime increases. There are no lesser problem on food production. All right. So in the previous slide, it's like comparing the growth of population to a familiar growth trend. Are you familiar with this trend? This is the typical growth curve of a pure culture of bacteria. So it seems like the human population growth is in the exponential phase right now. Recalling the growth of the bacterial growth curve, it represents the number of live cells in a bacteria population over a period of time. So we have the lag phase, where this phase is characterized by cellular activity but not growth. And then we have the exponential or the log phase. So this is after the lag phase where bacterial cells enter the exponential or log phase. So at this time, the cells are dividing by fission. I'm not saying that humans are dividing by fission, by the way, but just the trend that we are, the trend in human population is increasing at an exponential rate. And are we going to enter this, the next phase, which is the stationary phase? Eventually, this is when the population growth experience in the log phase begins to decline as the available nutrients become depleted and waste products start to accumulate. So in here, if we relate it with the growth of human population and the problems we are experiencing in the environment, I don't want to enter this phase, but all of us doesn't want. So we need to do away in entering this space by controlling our use, our managing the resources, and being more sustainable and conscious in how we use our natural resources, and being more wise in deciding how we live in the Anthropocene phase. Okay, so this is it. We are projected to have a population by 2050 of around 10 billion. And scientists predicts that it will stay at that stage, 10 to 12 billion by the year 2050 to 2100, and will stabilize. And we don't know how it will eventually fall and stabilize in the near future. But the Philippine trend is, in terms of life expectancy, we've experienced longevity since the Industrial Revolution. So we can see here the life expectancy, which is the maximum possible age to which an individual can live. So before, a Filipino will live up to 50 to 55 years old. But since the introduction of more food secured environment, our life expectancy has increased to age 71. So this is, I'm not saying that it's only about food production and availability, but this is also because of the introduction of more advanced technologies, vaccines, vitamins, vaccines and vaccines and some diseases are now curable, so people can live longer in the Philippines. And this is also a trend worldwide. In fact, since as of the 2015 PSA data is per square kilometer of the land in the Philippines, 340 individuals, and the ratio of male to female is around 50-50. So we already 100 million population number of people. But it's when we talk about evenly distributed people all over the Philippines, that's not the case, because in the Philippines we have cities or urban environments. If you may recall the slide earlier about the interconnectedness and nutrient transfer from nature to the organisms in a city, there is also transfer of nutrients and energy in a city, and a city is an example of an atmosphere where we are living right now. Wherever you are, I'm not in a city. I'm in the province. I'm in Rizal, but it's in Manila City. Diliman is in Quezon City. So we have the so-called CB, so Central Business District. These are sub-districts in an urbanized city where the establishments are all together in one locator. So the city is a system with flows of energy and materials, and it has an input of energy and materials, internal cycling, waste, output and input of waste that can be converted to energy such as heat and such as materials or mechanical. So as in any natural ecosystems, recycling of materials can reduce the need for input and the net output for waste if the city is well sustained. So as I was telling, although if we evenly distribute the population of the Filipinos all over the Philippines, we are expected to find 340 individuals per square kilometer of land in the Philippines, but that's not the case because we have urban centers. And we can see population density distribution in the Philippines in the highly urbanized cities such as those in the National Capital Region, Region 4A, Region 3, and some urban cities in the Visayas and in the Mindanao region. The population density reaches up to thousands or 100,000s. Imagine in a square kilometer of a land area, you can find people of 2,500 up to 20,000 per square kilometer. That's how densely some of the locations in the Philippines are nowadays, and this translates to more material transfer and energy transfer, waste transfer that cannot be coped. I mean, hindi na siya kayang masustain at some point. So the urban environment in the Philippines needs attention because of this. Okay, so the urban environment in the Philippines that I will be citing examples here will be the infrastructure, the dwellings, transportation, communication. These are all part of the atmosphere age that we are already in. So at this point, I would like to share to you the image from NASA. Day of Manila. So let me see if I can share it with you. Please let me know if the sharing is okay. Okay, so there you are. We can see now. It's to NASA Earth Observatory. Okay, so they compiled 2 images of Manila from 1988 to 2014 to see how the growth of Manila comes about and through the years. So this is how many years? 2014, 20 plus years, almost 30 years of growth. So on your left side is Metro Manila in 1988, and on your right side is Metro Manila in 2014. So as I move or as I scroll on, we can see how pristine Manila was before. Well, 1988, we are already in the advanced land use changes in Metro Manila. But as we go to now, we are looking at the 1988 figure. Can you see the boundaries in Laguna de Bay? And the Mangahan floodway is still under construction. Pasig River here can be seen clearly. There are, I hope you can see the,
Yes,
I hope
it's visible.
Yes, it's visible, yes.
Yes.
So this is 1988. And then let's compare it with 2014. Look at the brown images. That means that the land use has been changed, converted from once green spaces into now an urban or an androsphere or infrastructure that was made by humans. So this much change has caused a lot of pressure in the development of the cities, in the management of waste, in the all resource availability, and in how we live our life in the city. Okay, now going back to the file. So you can access this, by the way, free of charge in the Earth Observatory.nasa.gov. You just search for the growth of Manila. Okay, now going back to the slides. So issues that we need to tackle, but how do we manage these issues if we do not know the levels or the contaminants, or if we do not know what to manage? So now, are you seeing my slide?
Okay, part of the slide, sorry, it's not presented, probably. Okay. Okay,
Yep.
it's here. Thank you.
Can you see it now? Okay.
Yes.
So our group focuses on air pollution to provide evidences of how we are impacting our air through the emissions from mobile sources and through the human activities in the urban environment. So this data comes from the LTO, Land Transportation Office, presenting the number of registered vehicles in the Philippines. As we can see through the years, so the registered vehicles already reached the 12 million mark, meaning that for every, is it 12? Yeah. For every 12 people in the Philippines, these 12 people, you can find one motor vehicle. And most of the motor vehicles are in the cities. So there are a lot of motor vehicles in the Philippines registered, and motor vehicles are known to produce emissions that are the largest contributory of air pollution in urban cities. The rural environment is another story, because although there are less vehicles in the rural setting, but the activities such as burning, biomass burning, kainin, and open waste burning contributes in the pollution level of the rural environment. But in the city, we can see here the NCR map and the mapped emission of mobile sources coming from vehicles. And we can trace here EDSA along NCR. So concentrations of emissions in the urban environment are mostly found in roadsides. So motor vehicle exhaust produces a visible pollution, tiny airborne particulate matter, and other pollutants that produce the haze that shrouds our cities. And I'm sure you will agree that this is normal. The photo on the right most panel is the normal visualization of what we can see in Metro Manila on an ordinary day before the pandemic came in the Philippines. So these are produced, these haze are products of combustion, emissions, secondary formations of the particulate matter and gaseous materials emitted by human activities in the urban environment. And how does it matter? And why do we need to know about it? Air pollution are branded as particulate matter so that we can have a criteria for the levels of air pollution. So we call it PM, particulate matter. And sometimes you can see a number beside PM. So it corresponds to the size of the particulate matter. So PM10, PM2.5, PM1. So these are is just to show the scale. PM10, well, if this is your hibla ng hair, a hair strand, PM10 are the small spheres surrounding around the hair strand, the blue spheres. And if we zoom in closely to these blue spheres, you can find smaller red spheres. And these red spheres are PM2.5. And the smaller the size fraction are, the more potential it will have to enter the lungs, the gas exchange region. This is a cross-section of the hair, and this is about the size of PM10 and PM2.5. And this is electron micrograph image of a strand of hair with PM10 and PM2.5 attached to it. We know that the lungs is our nose, or the respiratory system, is our connection with nature. So aside from this, the natural environment easily penetrates our body, our organs, through our nose, because we breathe and through the respiratory system. So our nose's first line of defense are the nose hairs. So when we inhale a cocktail of particles if it's polluted in the atmosphere. So as this particulate matter, PM, enters the inhalation region of our body, so some are trapped like this. So yung nagiging snot or nagiging boulder or Tagalog, K, kulangot. Yeah, so it's trapped in the nose hairs. But those that are smaller than PM 2.5 can pass through the nasal region, and it can be trapped in the laryngopharyngeal region. May mga cilia dyan, so it can be trapped. Sometimes we feel irritated sa throat because some of the particles are trapped here, but unfortunately not all, because further smaller particles can penetrate this region and can penetrate the gas exchange region of the lungs. And if this contains harmful contaminants, then it already enters our body. So to scale, we can see here that at 1 micron, less than 0.1, these are the viral particles are very small, up to 0.1 micrometer. So it can definitely enter the gas exchange region because of its size. And I'm one of those scientists who supports that the virus can be transmitted airborne, because of its size, of its physical characteristics, and because of the process of inhalation, it can be transported at a shorter meter range, and it can be the COVID, the SARS coronavirus 2 can be transmitted airborne because of its size and its process in the atmosphere. So, what are the health impacts of particulate matter or air pollution? According to WHO, it has already caused 1 million premature deaths worldwide. But this is based on 2014 data. We are expecting more premature deaths as the years progress. So we are now in 2020, and then dumagdag pa yung SARS-CoV-2 na virus and the pandemic. So this will be updated soon by the WHO. But in the Philippines, based on a 2013 article by Dr. Santiago, who is my master's thesis advisor, she is already sounding the signal that the air in Metro Manila could be cancerous because here's a slide. This is an actual image that I've taken from my PhD dissertation, and the small particles are so small. They are 0.1 micrometer to 50 nanometers of size. And these are black carbon. Black carbon are emissions from vehicles, primary emissions. Yung nakikita natin black sa mga tambucho. Exactly, that's black carbon. And it's so small that it can penetrate our lungs. So if these black carbon particles have contents that are cancerous, and then we are breathing dirty air that may cause cancer. And in fact, the WHO also declared in 2013 that PM, particulate matter, might be outdoor air pollution is a leading environmental cause of cancer deaths worldwide. And ambient particulate matter exposure is one of the global burden of disease globally. It's ranked top 9. But not to mention, the household air pollution from solid fuels is ranked number 4. So combined yan, double whammy, indoor and outdoor. And if we don't manage these sources, we will the health will be we will compromise in terms of health. All right. So, but the government is managing naman the outdoor air pollution. The regulators or the DNR response is to establish guidelines. So before, we don't have guidelines for PM 2.5 until PM 10 lang. But in 2013, guidelines for particulate matter 2.5 has been added. And in 2016, mas bumaba pa yung regulation. Ibig sabihin, mas naging mahigpit sa pag-regulate ng outdoor air pollution or ambient air pollution ng government by having a more strict guidelines of PM 2.5 for 24 hour from 75, sorry, noong 2013, naging 50 na siya ng 2016. So this means that on a daily basis, a city or an area should not exceed 50 micrograms per normal cubic meter within 24 hours. PM 2.5 yun. Would you be interested kung anong trend ng ating PM 10 and PM 2.5 sa Metro Manila? Yes, Sir Reuel?
Yes, please continue.
Okay, thank you. So, we have 4 stations that is managed by UP Diliman and donated in cooperation with Rotary Club of Makati and Lung Center of the Philippines. So the NGO, Rotary Club of Makati, donated equipments for the public use in 4 strategic sites in Metro Manila, namely Ayala Station, EDSA Station, also in UST Manila. You have a monitoring system inside your campus for PM10 and PM2.5. And the fourth one is in the Lung Center of the Philippines. That was an initiative of the hospital itself. So the monitoring stations for PM10 and PM2.5 are all located on the roadside. In terms of UST, it's in the actual station, but I was shown a picture that it was on top of the guardhouse along your main gate. All right. So we can see here the trend of PM10 and PM2.5. PM10 is the blue, PM2.5 is the red one. So as we go through the day, we see a diurnal increase in PM10 and PM2.5. So nag-i-increase siya in the morning and in the evening. And this corresponds also to the activities that we are expecting, number of vehicles on the road. By the way, this was measured from 2016 to 2018. So this is pre-COVID, okay? So we can see here the time of day, the month of the year, and the days of the week. We can see here that, yes, there is a diurnal variation, increases in the morning, decreases in the afternoon when the planetary boundary layer is low, when the planetary boundary layer is high pala in the afternoon. Pagdating ng gabi, bumababa na naman yung planetary boundary layer. Ibig sabihin, there are lesser space for air to breathe kapag mababa yung planetary boundary layer height. Kaya nagsisiksikan yung na nandun sa oras na yun and add it up with the rush hours. And then days of the week, mababa siya pag Monday kasi Sunday yung sasakyan sa kalsada. Tuesday, nagbe-build up. Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, yung build up na marami. Nagpapatong-patong yung namin. This is in Ayala Station, okay? And then, ba na naman dahil mas kukunting sasakyan sa weekend. And then, we can also see the monthly variation. Na this doesn't correspond well to seasonality, but because the Ayala Station has urban or meron siyang mga things that affects the circulation. Hi, Ma'am Sonia Javier. Shout out po. Ayan. So this is Ayala. This is, I'm going to show you EDSA Muñoz. It's taking time lang. EDSA Muñoz, ayan. So, ganun din, mayroong diurnal variation and increase and decrease throughout the week. But we can see here a clear seasonal variation kasi pag tag-ulan, mababa siya. Pero tataasin naman siya kapag dry season. Take note, we only have two seasons in the Philippines, the wet and dry season. And then I'll show the Lung Center of the Philippines station. This is located in the flagpole of the hospital, and strong diurnal variation din siya. Higher in the morning, lower in the afternoon, and in the evening rush hour, tataas din siya, corresponding to the meteorology. And then we are seeing the seasonal variation very clearly na bumababa siya pag tag-ulan. Pagka tag-asa at tag-tuyot, tumataas yung PM10 and PM2.5. And we can see the variation throughout the week. Are you excited to see the UST trend? Okay. Remember, this is 2016 to 2018. In the station located in your university, we can see this trend. It's loading there. Okay, so the PM10 and PM2.5 also has the diurnal variation. Pero loko, sa afternoon, may classes, marami bang sasakyan sa inyo ng buong maghapon kasi hapon, mataas pa rin yung levels. Is that true? Anyway, so we also saw the levels noong April. This corresponds sa bakasyon, no? I think this is When did you enter the new calendar? Is it still in the vacation season into the 2016, 2018? So I'm guessing that we still captured the yung before the calendar of the academic year. So that's why there is the levels of particulate matter. But we can still see the trend in the weekday and weekly variation. So this is pre-COVID. Our group also the impact of the enhanced community quarantine in the levels of air pollution in Metro Manila. So the graph that I'm about to show now is courtesy of Engineer Roshan Ramos of the Department of Geodetic Engineering. So we see a lessen, the impact of lessened human activities in Metro Manila. So these are showing the weeks before ECQ and during the ECQ. As in, well, this is not particulate matter. This is NO2. But we can clearly see na yung the yellow and the red portions of the map corresponds to higher levels of O2, and these are before 1 week and 2 weeks before the ECQ. But during the pandemic or during the ECQ week, especially in week 1, week 2, and so on and so forth, medyo naging poor, no? The levels of NO2 lessened. This is, well, the hypothesis is that major contributory part of this lessened emission is because nawala yung human activities. I mean, pinagbawal ang sasakyan, hindi lumalabas. So, lessened human activity. So, it, as Dr. Pavia in the introduction said, nakita talaga yung improvements sa air quality during the ECQ. Even dito sa levels ng particulate matter sa aming station sa Lang Central Philippines, we also saw the lessened PM 2.5 during the week of the enhanced community quarantine. So we are comparing before, which is the orange plot. So this is the diurnal variation yung natin kapag ka regular days mataas kapag ka because of rush hours, then bababa sa tanghali, and then mataas na naman siya sa pahapon. But during the ECQ, nakita natin relatively nag-improve ang particulate matter. But this is not saying that the only factor is the decrease in human activities or the mobile sources. I'm also saying that the meteorology has an important factor here as well. So we have seen this improvement, pero ang caveat nito is, do we really need to be in a quarantine stage para lang ma-attain itong air pollution? So itong improvement in air pollution. So next, we've already experienced how good the air is when it is clean. So some people just want to go back na dun sa polluted na the time, which is before COVID. So how do we manage what we know? So in this case, we need to avoid unnecessary idling if you own a vehicle, avoid burning solid waste in open spaces, avoid smoking in public places, and we should be responsible with our own vehicle. Until now, without the jeepneys on the road, the pollution is still at a low level. But we are in the, hindi pa natin nakikita if this is really because wala yung mga pre-Euro vehicles sa kalsada kaya malinis yung hangin. What I'm saying is that nasa rainy season tayo, nasa tag-ulan na season tayo. And we are expecting, as we saw in the seasonal variation, the pollutants are lower in the rainy season. Wait till we see the dry season and compare it with the previous year's trend. But in order to attain a more sustainable air quality in the cities, at hand, on hand, ito yung pwede natin gawin as a responsible and environmentalist, environmentally aware individual. And then these are the suggestions for long term. We need to respect the natural boundaries of our community. We need to avoid urban sprawl by proper urban planning. You saw the NASA map, about the land use in Metro Manila. That's unprecedented. And daming nagbago. The nature was, the boundaries of the nature ay nakuha na ng mga tao building their dwellings and all. And I hope it doesn't happen to other cities that are still building their communities. And let's learn from Metro Manila. And then the implementation of the transport system, being conscious of green cities, promoting it, and making sure that our next generation will experience the clean air as well. And let's give more road space to non-motorized transport, such as bikes, e-bikes, and the bicycles, walking, and yon. Then we will be more conscious about our fuel economy, fuel standard, and let's promote clean energy. So these are some of the suggested ways to manage what we know. As a take-home message, emphasize these two things: the human-induced issues and challenges can be solved by human-driven solutions, and we need to continue measuring the impacts of human activities because we can only manage what we know. So, kailangan natin alamin anong levels, what are the impacts, because by then, by managing what we know, by knowing the levels, we can manage what we know. That's what our laboratory is doing, the Environmental Pollution Studies Laboratory. So we have this battle cry: share code, and knowledge worth having. So we want to know the levels of pollutants in the environment to provide based information leading to solutions on the pressing and emerging environmental pollution issues on water, atmosphere, food, and energy in the Philippines through research and extension. And these are our spheres of interest. We have stations, research stations nationwide, and we are funded by several government, non-government, academic institutions, partners. So we have projects for clean drinking water. We have projects on monitoring and providing evidence on the extent of some contaminants in Laguna de Bay for proper information dissemination. And then we also have, of course, our project on airtoday.ph, where you can access free air quality data. I hope the UST station will work out soon. Dean Ray, are you ready to functionalize the UST station? I hope so. Papaampon na namin sa inyo. Gumana na siya. So, yeah. That's it. Thank you for listening, and I hope to talk with UST soon on the operational airtoday.ph. Thank you for listening, and
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Cayetano, for your presentation, of course. So again, I'd like to inform everyone that we are live in Facebook. So USC Science fan page, of course. Then later on, the YouTube link will be a YouTube video will be uploaded later. Again, I'd like to remind everyone the floor is now open for questions. Unfortunately, I cannot read them all because we have limited time, but I do believe, of course, the line of Dr. Cayetano is open, right, Dr. Cayetano?
Yes, of course, yes.
Okay, so
my email address.
So I have here some questions. So I'll be first reading the question of Academician Professor Maribel Manato. So the question is, so of the suggested solutions, which do you think is easily achievable? And likewise, or do you think it's easily achievable, or which one would be which of those solutions would be achieved easily?
Right now, we are already achieving some of the spaces being allotted to non-motorized systems. No, if we make them long term, baga hindi lang the pandemic, but the road spaces given to bicycles and walking to people, that is truly achievable, especially now that it's needed. No? And then I think transforming our emerging cities into green cities is also achievable. Kasi meron na tayong example na Metro Manila, which is hindi masyadong magandang planning. So for those emerging cities outside of Metro Manila wants to achieve the green city category, it's still achievable. Some cities are doing that. In Laguna, Nubali, they are on that category. Santa Rosa, some in Batangas, some in Pampanga, Clark City. Yeah. So these are meaning to be achievable. Thank you for the question, Dr. Nanato.
Yeah, then I have here a question from Miss Maria Isabella Escobar. Dr. Cayetano, are there any published evidence showing that socioeconomic status is a variable in exposure to diseases caused by pollution? So, are there any evidence or evidences?
Evidences of.
Showing,
can you read again the question?
Are there any published evidence or evidences showing that socioeconomic status is variable in exposure to diseases caused by pollution?
Socioeconomic status is variable to the exposure. That's an interesting topic because yes, it pasok dyan yung social justice in terms of exposure to air pollution. I haven't encountered any publication yet pertaining to ambient air pollution. Or maybe we can check the Lim et al., the Global Burden of Disease study by Lim et al. In 2012. I think they have a socio-economic factor, risk factor also in their publication. So you can check it. Lim et al. 2012 in the Lancet. So I can suggest that paper. And then I'm also encountering some publications, but it's related to indoor air pollution. So nandun, some papers clearly explain about the disparity in socioeconomic status and the exposure of women and children in cooking, because the poorer communities rely on solid fuels for cooking, so they are more exposed to pollution. Then some affluent families rely on more cleaner options for cooking, so they are less exposed to pollution. So there are evidences available. Thank you for that question, Ms. Escobar.
Yeah. Thanks as well. So I have here a question from a very familiar person. So she's Ma'am Javier or Sonia Javier. So can the 4 machines of your group set up in strategic stations also be able to measure pollen grains? So because since this is a good project collaboration together with Dr. Sabit, who's working on pollen or aerobiology.
Pollen can be detected kasi di ba I showed size, so it's in the range of between PM10 and PM2.5, so our machine can detect it. And in addition, we also need to have a collection of the particles by active sampling, so that by subjecting the substrate in the microscope, we can determine if what we sampled are indeed pollen or not. Because pollen has a characteristic under the microscope. No? Hindi siya yung regular na sphere. So, irregular yung shape niya. So, yes, it's doable. Sonia, let's collaborate soon.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Cayetano. And last one I have here, with the new normal, the use of mask has been a part of our lives. And there has been an influx of protective face masks with added activated carbon. Is the addition of activated carbon in protective masks really helpful in mitigating air pollution or even in protecting us against the COVID-19? Or this is just another marketing strategy? The question is from Mr. Antonio Lorenzo.
Well, activated carbon is known to clean the air of gaseous pollutants. So gaseous pollutants are molecular level. So yan yung NO2, SO2, ozone, and all other criteria pollutants, carbon monoxide and such. Virus, as shown in the picture earlier, is particulate matter, so solid siya. So activated carbon, I think for the protection against virus, hindi siya ganong add-on because even an N95 mask also can protect us even without activated carbon. So if we need added protection for gaseous pollutants, then we need activated carbon. Pero for our daily against virus, an N95 mask would suffice. So if we are always on the roadside and we need protection because of the intense air pollution brought about by the gaseous emissions from our environment, natin kailangan yung activated carbon. Ginagamit nga siya as a scrubber system sa mga industrial processes.
Okay, thank you. And I have here, I think we have one more. Just acknowledge, a comment or a question from one of our Facebook viewers. He is Mr. Donald Afan, a former colleague of ours from the Department of Biological Sciences. And the question is, he said that this may have already been discussed since he was a little bit late to join with regards to the PM levels. Is the speaker implying the main source of emissions as road traffic, or are the samplers located at roadside where there are correlations of data with other parameters, especially wind speed and direction?
So it's more inclined to the second line of thought. Our samplers are mostly located at the roadside. That's why we can definitely see the impact of road emissions. And also shown in the variations, the seasonality, the diurnal variation, which has something to do with the meteorology, the meteorological factors. So I agree on both line of thoughts that the meteorology plays also an important role in the levels of emissions that we are encountering, that we are measuring using the instrument of airtoday.ph. Aside from its roadside monitors.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to let me thank again our invited speaker, Dr. Mylene Cayetano, for her time, and likewise for sharing her expertise in the field of environmental science and engineering. I hope that some of our students in the future will conduct research in this particular field, and of course, some of our faculty members from the College of Science will soon collaborate with you in this particular endeavor. Yeah, so
hoping
thank you very much.
Too.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Cayetano. So for our acknowledgement, I'd like to acknowledge, of course, the College of Science Student Council, EDTech, or the USC Educational Technology Center, the College of Science Journal, and likewise, Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. Then let me remind everyone again of the upcoming events. So for the remainder of the College of Science, this MEOWS. So this afternoon, there will be a live webinar again, sponsored by the Department of Chemistry. That's this afternoon, 2 p.m. Then tomorrow, July 8th, Wednesday, a tribute video for our retirees will be shown. On the same day, there will be two webinars, one being sponsored by the Department of Psychology and the other one by the Department of Math and Physics. Again, that's July 8th. On July 9th, that's Thursday, there will be a tribute video again that will be given to our graduates. And of course, our PUSA or the Parangal ng USC Science Awards. Then on July 10th, that will be Friday, there will be a student-teacher testimonial mass to be presided by our college regent, Reverend Father Louis R. Coronel. And of course, our online variety show. So just stay tuned to our USC Facebook fan page, and please be reminded that all links to our webinars and events are going to be uploaded there, and likewise in Facebook. And with that, so I invite everyone for a closing prayer. So in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. We thank you, Lord, our God, that again on this occasion, you have opened our eyes to the light of your wisdom. You have gladdened our hearts to the knowledge of truth. We entreat you, Lord, let us always do your will. Bless us and enable us to grow in grace, virtue, and good habits, that your name may be glorified. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. So with that, I thank you everyone for tuning in. Of course, I'd like to again thank Dr. Mylene G, Cayetano, our heartfelt thanks for sharing your expertise to us and also to our event, the MEOWS. Thank you.